Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to completely demystify the Forged Labs O3 Unified Sequencing Environment. Think of me as your cool professor for the day, guiding you through this tutorial. We're going to transform you from an absolute novice to a sequencer master, fully unlocking the massive potential of this incredibly deep audio engine. Okay, let's take a quick look at our syllabus for today. We're starting with a blank canvas and a quick start to get your feet wet. Then we're moving straight through the physical models of the drum factory, the linear mathematics of FM tone, the analog soul of acid T3, and finally wrapping up with how to mathematically twist it all using procedural algorithms. All right, section 1, quick start and globals. To start creating immediately within this massive 128-step environment, you literally only need to know 4 steps. Hit full reset to clear your buffers. Then click master play to engage that rock-solid webworker clock, which, by the way, ensures your timing never drifts. Next, use auto groove to instantly populate a multi-genre pattern. And finally, hit export. You can generate and download a mathematically optimized MIDI pattern perfectly mapped for your DAW in under 5 minutes. Now, speed is absolutely everything in sequence programming, so here's a massive workflow pro tip to keep you in the zone. Keep your hand resting on your computer's numeric keypad. Hitting numbers 1 through 8 will instantly bounce your inspector focus between tracks. It totally saves you from constantly reaching for the mouse, letting you stay perfectly locked into that creative flow. Moving on to section 2, the drum factory engine. This is where we build the physical, beating foundation of our track. Notice this 8-track grid. Each track uses very specific physical models. For example, track 1, our kick, merges a rapidly descending sub-oscillator sweep with a super sharp transient click to give you maximum low-end punch. Switch over to track 4, and it actually provides a micro cascade of volume spikes to perfectly emulate the organic sound of multiple hands clapping. What's really fascinating here is how tracks 6 through 8 handles cymbals. They avoid that boring, standard white noise entirely. Instead, they sum 8 detuned fixed oscillators through a surgical high-pass filter. This gives you a truly authentic, ringing, metallic timbre that just sounds incredibly alive and cuts right through any mix. Okay, Professor Hat firmly on for a second. I need to give you a stern warning about your drum master bus. You absolutely must keep your levels peaking exactly here in the green at -18 dBFS or 0 VU. You can totally set your bus compressor threshold to catch peaks and apply makeup gain, but you have to preserve this pristine digital headroom right before the tape-style saturation wave shaper does its magic at the very end of the chain. If you clip here, the math breaks down. Section 3, Mastering FM Tone Synthesis. Now we are diving into the pure mathematics of sound design. On the FM Tone dashboard, you've got an 8-track polyalgorithmic synthesizer. And what's awesome here as a live performance tool is that when this specific tab is active, you can actually play the selected track live right on your computer keyboard using keys A through K. All of this while using that numeric keypad trick we just learned to jump seamlessly between your tracks. As your instructor, I want to make sure you truly master this engine. And to do that, we have to understand what FM synthesis actually is. Linear frequency modulation means we aren't just filtering a static sound. We're using one invisible waveform, the modulator, to mathematically warp the pitch of another, the carrier, at incredibly fast audio rates. That's exactly how we generate those sharp, complex harmonics essentially out of thin air. Under the hood, you have 6 specific synthesis topologies to choose from, totally depending on the sound you're trying to sculpt. You could choose Swarm for super soft phase detuning, which is just perfect for massive wide chords. Or you could select Harmonic FM, which uses a precise 1 to 1.5 mathematical ratio to forge those glassy metallic bell tones. In this specific engine, your pitch slider literally transforms into the FM index. It acts as your master modulation depth control. Sliding it to positive values brilliantly injects bright, biting harmonic grit into the sound. Meanwhile, sliding it to negative values smoothly filters it back down to a pure, fundamental sine wave. It's an incredibly intuitive way to approach sound design. Section 4, Acid T3 Analog Basslines. With our digital math perfectly dialed in on the FM side, let's inject some rich analog soul into the mix. This is a brilliant monophonic emulation of a classic 303 architecture. You've got your choice of rich sawtooth or hollow square waves, a screaming 24 decibel per octave ladder filter emulation to give you that classic sweep, and they've even added a dedicated sub-oscillator to aggressively thicken the bottom end by 1 or 2 octaves. To get that authentic, squelchy groove, the Acid T3 utilizes a brilliant double-stage decay circuit. This means your normal decay knob controls the standard everyday steps, but you have an entirely independent accent decay working in the background, just for your accented notes. This dual behavior is exactly what gives a great acid bassline its breathing, rhythmic bounce. When you click the gear icon to dive into the acid step inspector and dial up the accent level on a specific step, it does three massive things all at once. It triggers that specific accent decay we just talked about, it mathematically multiplies the filter resonance by 1.5 for that classic acid squelch, and it absolutely blasts the VCA amplitude to give the volume massive punch. Add a slide amount to smoothly glide the pitch to the next step, and the machine truly comes alive. Finally, Section 5, Procedural Algorithms and MIDI. Let's explore the algorithmic generators located below the sequencer to see how we can mathematically alter patterns without ever lifting a finger on the grid. Think of these tools like invisible hands, instantly altering your MIDI data. You can apply micro-timing fluctuations from negative to positive 7.5 milliseconds with Pocket Humanize to get this organic off-grid feel. You can force cascading polyrhythms with Procedural by simply setting an interval and an offset. Or you can even use velocity ramp to force a perfect linear volume fade-in across all active steps on a track. And perhaps the ultimate flex of math in music is true Euclid. You just enter a raw pulse count, and the engine takes over, spacing those hits out as perfectly and evenly as mathematically possible across the 16 steps. It creates these mesmerizing global rhythmic foundations that you might never have thought to program by hand. So class, you now intimately understand the raw sub-oscillators of the drum factory, the modulation math of FM tone, and the saturated circuits of the acid T3. You've got the algorithms, you've got the master controls. As you stare down a blank grid today, the only question left to answer is, what will you forge?